It is unlikely that Doc Holliday consumed as much as 3 quarts of whiskey daily, and he was not notorious for lethal gunfights, despite Wyatt Earp's depiction of him as such. Earp, a formidable figure himself, held Doc in high regard. Holliday's life has been extensively chronicled, notably in Robert Barr Smith's article, The West's Deadliest Dentist, published in the April 1994 edition of Wild West magazine. However, many of these accounts are rife with inaccuracies. For instance, one writer claimed Holliday had engaged in over 30 deadly duels, while some historians have claimed he killed 16 men. These figures are likely exaggerated. Numerous stories about Holliday are sensationalized and do not withstand scrutiny. Nonetheless, the authentic tale of John Henry Holliday's brief existence is quite captivating. John Henry Holliday was born on August 14, 1851, in Griffin, Georgia, to Henry Burroughs Holliday and Alice Jane Holliday. Tragically, their first child, Martha Eleonora, had passed away on June 12, 1850, at just 6 months and 9 days old. Church records indicate that John Henry was baptized on Sunday, March 21, 1852, at the First Presbyterian Church in Griffin. John Henry's mother was renowned for her beauty in the Southern community, and his father was a druggist, plantation owner, and veteran. Henry Holliday served in various conflicts, including against Native Americans in 1838, during the Mexican-American War in 1846, and as a Confederate soldier during the Civil War beginning in 1861. He attained the rank of major before resigning due to illness in 1862. In 1864, anticipating General William Tecumseh Sherman's march to the sea, the Holliday family relocated to Valdosta, Georgia, near the Florida border. Henry Holliday swiftly became a prominent figure in Valdosta, eventually serving as its mayor in 1876. Due to his family's social position, John Henry felt compelled to select a profession. He enrolled in dental school in 1870 and attended lectures between 1870 and 1872, focusing on dental diseases for his thesis. Lucian Frink, a local dentist in Valdosta from 1868 to 1879, served as his mentor during this period. John Henry received his Doctor of Dental Surgery degree at the 16th annual commencement of the Pennsylvania College of Dental Surgery in Philadelphia on March 1, 1872, along with 25 others. After completing his education, Dr. Holliday partnered with Dr. Arthur C. Ford in Atlanta. Shortly afterward, Holliday was diagnosed with tuberculosis, and multiple doctors predicted a short future for him. They advised him that a drier climate might benefit his health, prompting Holliday to pack up and head west. His initial destination was Dallas, Texas, considered the final bastion of civilization before the rugged western frontier. In the 1873 Dallas Business Directory, Holliday's practice was listed at Elm between Market and Austin Streets under the name Holliday, J.H. Segar and Holliday. John Segar, also from Georgia and a friend of Henry Burroughs Holliday, played a crucial role in helping John Henry establish himself in Dallas. Segar eventually made him a partner. However, their partnership dissolved by mutual consent in March 1874, as reported by the Dallas Daily Commercial. Following the dissolution, John Henry Holliday continued his practice, relocating his office to the corner of Main and Lamar Street, above the Dallas County Bank. Frequent coughing fits plagued Holliday's slender frame, often interrupting his dental procedures. Consequently, his dental practice slowly declined, exacerbated by his waning interest in the profession. Holliday discovered a natural talent for gambling, which soon became his primary source of income. In the rough environment of the frontier West, a gambler needed to be self-reliant, often standing alone. Holliday honed his skills with firearms and knives, earning a reputation for proficiency in both weapons and games of chance. He cultivated tales of his prowess as a marksman to deter potential adversaries, recognizing his physical limitations against most saloon patrons. Legend suggests that Holliday had a violent encounter before his arrival in Texas, involving an altercation with African-American youths over a swimming spot in the Withlacoochee River near Valdosta. It was rumored that he had killed some of them, though historical records dispute this, indicating that he fired shots over their heads rather than directly harming anyone. Many aspects of Holliday's life have been romanticized or fabricated, with numerous accounts attributing him to killings and scenarios he never encountered. Writers and journalists have often embellished or misconstrued details, leading to a distorted portrayal of Holliday's actions and character. In Dallas, on January 2, 1875, Holliday had a dispute with a local saloon keeper named Austin that escalated into a confrontation involving firearms. Both men fired shots, but none hit their mark, and they were subsequently arrested. Later, Holliday was rumored to have killed a prominent citizen in Dallas, leading him to flee the area. However, there are no newspaper reports or court records to substantiate this alleged incident. In June of the same year, Holliday was indicted by a grand jury for gambling in Fort Griffin, Texas. By 1876, when he arrived in Jacksboro, he had earned the moniker Deadly Dentist, largely due to his own embellished stories. In Jacksboro, Holliday purportedly engaged in 3 fights, resulting in casualties. However, there are no contemporary newspaper articles, court records, or military records to support these claims. Upon arriving in Denver in the winter of 1876, Holliday adopted the alias Tom Mackey, a name phonetically similar to his mother's maiden name, McKee. Legend recounts an altercation with local bully Bud Ryan, where Holliday allegedly defended himself by slashing Ryan's throat with a knife. This incident, romanticized by later retellings from figures like Wyatt Earp and Bat Masterson, lacks credible evidence. Historical records from the Denver Republican in June 1887 do mention a slashing involving a kid, Ryan, but it occurred much later and involved different individuals, with Holliday not implicated in the event. After departing Denver, Holliday briefly visited Cheyenne, Wyoming territory, abandoning the alias Mackey. Legend has it that he was responsible for the deaths of 3 unidentified individuals during this period, but historical evidence does not support these claims of violence in Wyoming. By the early fall of 1877, Holliday returned to Fort Griffin, Texas. In November of that year, Wyatt Earp arrived in the Flat, a settlement near the fort, in pursuit of outlaw Dave Rudabaugh. Holliday provided Earp with information on Rudabaugh's whereabouts near Fort Davis, establishing a lasting friendship between them that endured throughout Holliday's life. Holliday's notorious reputation also includes an incident involving a gambler named Ed Bailey around this time. During a poker game, Bailey repeatedly violated the rules by examining the discard pile. Despite Holliday's warnings, Bailey persisted, prompting Holliday to claim the pot without revealing his hand, a legitimate move. In response, Bailey drew a revolver, but Holliday swiftly defended himself with his knife, fatally injuring Bailey before he could fire a shot. The incident led to Holliday's arrest and the formation of a lynch mob. However, the narrative took a romantic turn with the appearance of Big Nose Kate, whose real name was Mary Catherine Haroni. Holliday had previously encountered Kate in the Flat, where she worked as a dance hall woman and occasional prostitute. Kate was independent and strong-willed, preferring to operate her own business rather than working for a madam or a man. She and Holliday formed a significant connection during their time in John Chauncey's saloon, establishing a unique relationship in Holliday's tumultuous life. While Holliday was in custody and a mob outside was discussing lynching, Big Nose Kate reportedly set fire to a barn nearby. The Blaza diverted the attention of the mob, allowing Kate to enter the makeshift jail, where Holliday was being held. She confronted the nervous jailer with 2 revolvers and facilitated Holliday's escape. Together, they fled to Dodge City, Kansas. Although this account makes for a captivating tale, there are no contemporary newspaper reports or court documents supporting these events. In reality, Holliday had been arrested for illegal gambling, not for the incident involving Ed Bailey. Moreover, the town lacked a proper jail at the time, and Holliday was confined in a hotel room under guard. In Dodge City, Holliday and Kate registered as Dr. and Mrs. John H. Holliday at Deacon Cox's boarding house. With a shortage of dentists in the bustling town, Holliday resumed his dental practice in 1878. However, Kate's attempt to conform to societal norms lasted only about 3 months before she returned to her former lifestyle in the saloons. Holliday was deeply disappointed and embarrassed by Kate's actions, especially her use of the title Mrs. John H. Holliday, which he found degrading. Consequently, he lost interest in dentistry, taking down his shingle and abandoning the profession. Kate eventually departed for unknown destinations, leaving Holliday to venture to H.A.W. Tabor's newly established town, Leadville, in Colorado Territory. This move marked a fresh start for Holliday, who sought to distance himself from the tumultuous events in Dodge City and the complications brought about by his relationship with Kate. Legend recounts how Holliday allegedly saved Wyatt Earp's life in Dodge City in 1878. According to the story, Wyatt was being harassed by 2 Texas cattlemen, Ed Morrison and Toby Driscoll, accompanied by 25 cowhands, who were threatening to shoot him. Just in time, Holliday intervened, wielding revolvers in each hand. This diversion allowed Wyatt to retrieve his own weapon and subdue Morrison with a pistol whipping. Together, Holliday and Earp ordered the Texans to disarm. When one defiantly drew his gun, Holliday swiftly shot him down. Despite claims that up to 50 revolvers were confiscated from the scene, indicating each Texan carried 2 firearms, Dodge City newspapers did not report this incident, nor were records found of a large-scale arrest of cowboys. It's more likely that Earp was handling a smaller altercation involving 3 cowboys, with Holliday stepping in to defuse the situation by deterring a potential assailant. On his journey to Colorado Territory, Holliday was said to have engaged in a fatal dispute with 2 gamblers. However, there are no corroborating newspaper articles or court documents supporting this claim. Similarly, upon arriving in Trinidad, Colorado Territory, Holliday allegedly faced off against an elusive gunman named Kid Colton, whom he supposedly dispatched in a deadly shootout. This event, though embellished in legend, lacks substantiation from historical records. Despite the prevalence of these sensationalized accounts, their authenticity remains questionable without credible documentation to validate them. During his journey to Las Vegas, New Mexico Territory in 1879, Holliday is purported to have been involved in another deadly altercation, this time in the railroad construction camp of Otero. According to legend, Holliday fatally shot an unidentified individual during an argument, resulting in the victim's burial in the local cemetery. However, historical records fail to substantiate this event, with no documented evidence supporting such claims. One notable incident often associated with Holliday occurred on July 20, 1879, in Las Vegas, involving the death of a man named Mike Gordon. Despite widespread speculation and accounts attributing the killing to Holliday, a coroner's inquest conducted on the day of Gordon's death made no mention of Holliday's involvement. The jury concluded that Gordon's fatal gunshot wound was inflicted by an unknown person. Newspapers of the time extensively covered Gordon's death without referencing Holliday, who was a saloon owner on Center Street in Las Vegas. It wasn't until 2 years later, on July 20th, 1881, that a reporter for the Las Vegas Optic asserted that Holliday was responsible for Gordon's death, despite lacking substantial evidence or first-hand knowledge of the incident. The same newspaper, 3 months later, published an article detailing the gunfight at the OK Corral in Tombstone, yet made no mention of Holliday's earlier activities in Las Vegas or the death of Mike Gordon. Bat Masterson, known for embellishing tales to enhance his own reputation, further fueled the Holliday legend in an interview with the Arizona Weekly Citizen on August 14, 1886. Masterson attributed Gordon's killing to Holliday and even claimed that Holliday had shot an unnamed Mexican objector during the incident. However, Masterson's statements should be approached with caution, as he was known to embellish facts to create dramatic narratives. Another alleged target of the deadly dentist in Las Vegas was Charlie White, a bartender whom Holliday had previously expelled from Dodge City with a threat of death if they crossed paths again. Fate brought them face to face once more at the Plaza Hotel Saloon in Las Vegas, Old Town. Miguel Antonio Otero, future governor of New Mexico, recounted their encounter, describing a fierce shootout where both men fired relentlessly without hitting their mark. Eventually, White fell to the ground, seemingly defeated but merely stunned. Upon regaining consciousness, White promptly left for Boston, never returning to the West. No newspaper reports or court records corroborate this supposed gunfight, and even if it occurred, Holliday had yet to claim a life. Holliday departed Las Vegas for Arizona Territory in the autumn of 1879, accompanied by Big Nose Kate. In Prescott, he enjoyed a streak of remarkable luck at the poker tables, profiting handsomely from the local gamblers. When they eventually relocated to Tombstone after June 3, 1880, Holliday and Kate settled in lodgings situated between a funeral parlor and the Soma Winery on Allen Street. Wyatt Earp had arrived in Tombstone the previous December, marking the beginning of tensions with the notorious cowboy faction that had long dominated the town. The Cowboys, led by figures like Old Man Clanton, the McClory brothers, Curly Bill Brocious, and John Ringo, resented the presence of Earp, Holliday, and other law-abiding individuals who challenged their control. Sheriff John Behan of Cochise County typically sided with the Cowboys, contributing to the escalating tensions in Tombstone. In early October 1880, Doc Holliday had a confrontation with a troublemaking gambler named Johnny Tyler at the Oriental Saloon. Holliday challenged Tyler to a fight, but Tyler chose to flee instead of facing Doc. The saloon's owner, Milt Joyce, who harbored animosity towards Holliday and the Earps, continued the argument with Doc and ultimately had him ejected from the premises. However, Holliday returned soon after, armed with a revolver. In the ensuing altercation, Holliday fired several shots, injuring Joyce's thumb and his partner, a man named Parker, in the big toe. Joyce retaliated by firing a shot that missed and then striking Doc on the head with his revolver. Law Officer Bennett intervened and separated the combatants, leading to Holliday's arrest on charges of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill. On October 12, 1880, Holliday appeared in court under the custody of Town Marshal Fred White, as reported by the Daily Nugget. However, none of the prosecution's witnesses attended the trial. Holliday pleaded guilty to assault and battery, resulting in the dismissal of the more severe charge of assault with a deadly weapon. He was fined $20 plus court costs amounting to $11.25. Meanwhile, Holliday's relationship with Big Nose Kate deteriorated. Despite living together, they focused on their own pursuits, Doc on drinking and gambling, and Kate on her role as a saloon woman. Their time together often devolved into quarrels, exacerbated by Katie's abusive behavior when intoxicated. Ultimately, Doc decided to end the relationship and expelled Katie from their shared accommodations. Shortly thereafter, on March 15, 1881, masked individuals attempted to rob the Kinnear and Company stage near Contention City, resulting in the deaths of stage driver Bud Philpott and passenger Peter Roehrig. These events further contributed to Holliday's reputation as a controversial figure entangled in the lawless prevalent during that period in the Wild West. Milt Joyce, who served as county supervisor and owned the Oriental Saloon, along with Sheriff John Behan, encountered Kate during one of her drunken episodes. While Kate expressed her grievances against Holliday for evicting her, Joyce and Behan facilitated her drinking by providing her with whiskey. They sympathized with Kate's situation and suggested ways for her to get back at Doc. Eventually, they convinced her to sign an affidavit accusing Holliday of involvement in the attempted stagecoach robbery and murders of Philpott and Roehrig. After sobering up, Kate realized the gravity of her actions and claimed that she signed the affidavit while under the influence of alcohol with Bean and Joyce, unable to recall its contents. Witnesses corroborating Holliday's whereabouts during the robbery, combined with Kate's change of stance, exposed the cowboy faction's scheme, leading to Holliday's release. The district attorney dismissed the charges as baseless. Doc then provided Kate with money and arranged for her departure from town, considering his debt to her repaid since she had previously saved him in Fort Griffin. Tensions between the American and Mexican governments escalated due to ongoing violence and bloodshed along the border. Both nations feared a full-blown conflict erupting if the situation remained unresolved. These concerns were justified, as evidenced by a violent incident on August 13, 1881, at the international border near the junction of New Mexico and Arizona territories. This historical context underscores the volatile conditions prevailing during Holliday's time, characterized by lawless and political instability in the Wild West. Old Man Clanton embarked on a cattle drive to the Tombstone market, aiming for a swift sale and profit. However, the journey did not unfold as planned. Clanton and his companions, including Dixie Lee Gray, Billy Lang, Bud Snow, Billy Byers, Harry Earnshaw, and Jim Crane, set up camp on the night of August 12th, likely in Guadalupe Canyon, situated about a mile south of the international border. Notably, Jim Crane was one of the individuals who had participated in the earlier stage robbery near Contention City, alongside Harry Head, Billy Leonard, and Luther King. King had managed to escape from Sheriff Bean's jail, while Head and Leonard were killed by the Hazlett brothers in New Mexico territory. In the early hours of August 13th, the Clanton party came under attack from riflemen. Lang, Gray, Crane, Snow, and Clanton lost their lives in the assault, while Byers and Earnshaw sustained injuries but managed to escape. The assailants were reported to be Mexicans. Some historians, including the author, suspect that an Earp federal posse might have been involved in the incident. Marshal Crawley Dake had been tasked with sending a posse to the border to address the disturbances caused by the cowboys. Given Dake's trust in Wyatt Earp, it is likely that Earp led this posse. It stands to reason that the posse's initial target would have been the area where Arizona, New Mexico, Sonora, and Chihuahua converge, specifically Guadalupe Canyon, or possibly Skeleton Canyon. The presence of Jim Crane among the cowboys would have been significant to the posse. The Mexican government was resolute in addressing the issue of cowboy rustling, insisting that either the Americans halt the cowboys' incursions across the border or the Mexicans would take action. Consequently, there may have been Mexicans in the canyon, potentially collaborating with the American lawmen or simply observing their efforts to combat the outlaws. Both Doc Holliday and Warren Earp sustained injuries in the border skirmish and did not return to Tombstone until they had recovered. This explains Holliday's use of a cane on October 26, 1881, and Warren's absence during the gunfight at the OK Corral. Tensions in Tombstone reached a boiling point as the divide between the cowboys and the Earps, along with Holliday, deepened. The cowboys issued threats against Wyatt, Virgil, Morgan, and Doc, demanding they leave town. However, neither running nor backing down was Holliday's or the Earps' style. On the evening of October 25, 1881, after heavy drinking, Ike Clanton and Holliday engaged in a heated exchange of obscenities. Doc escalated the confrontation by challenging Ike to use his gun, to which Clanton claimed he was unarmed. Holliday then goaded him further, suggesting that Ike's actions led to his father's death, and even boasted about having pulled the trigger himself. This unnerved Ike Clanton, prompting him to leave for the Grand Hotel, while Holliday retired to his room at Fly's boarding house. The following day, October 26th, Ike sought out Holliday at Fly's boarding house. Not finding Doc there, Ike's presence was noted by Mrs. Fly, who informed Big Nose Kate, visiting Holliday at the time. When Kate relayed this to Doc, he expressed his readiness to confront Ike when the opportunity arose. Soon afterward, reports reached the Earps that the cowboys were gathering at the wagon lot adjacent to Fly's photo gallery, armed in violation of city ordinances. Holliday joined the Earps near Hafford's saloon at the corner of Allen and 4th Streets, insisting on accompanying them. As they approached the cowboys, a confrontation ensued between the two factions in the narrow space between Fly's and the Harwood house. Guns were drawn and fired, resulting in a brief but intense exchange of gunfire lasting less than half a minute. By the end of the skirmish, the McClorys and Billy Clanton were killed, while Morgan and Virgil Earp sustained injuries. Holliday was identified as having killed Tom McClory and likely played a role in the shooting of Frank McClory, possibly also hitting Billy Clanton. This shootout, known as the Gunfight at the OK Corral, left a significant impact on the dynamics and conflicts within Tombstone during that turbulent period. 3 days following the gunfight at the OK Corral, Ike Clanton, who had fled when the shooting began, lodged a complaint. Subsequently, Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday were arrested, and judicial hearings took place in Justice Wells Spicer's court from November 2nd to November 29th. After considering all the evidence and circumstances, Spicer rendered his opinion, stating that given the threats made, the character and status of the individuals involved, and the tragic outcome, the defendants were justified in their actions. The judge concluded that the homicides were necessary acts performed in the discharge of official duty. In retaliation for the events surrounding the gunfight, Virgil Earp became a target. Late on December 28, 1881, while Virgil was en route from the Oriental Saloon to the Crystal Palace, he was ambushed by 3 assailants wielding shotguns. Virgil sustained severe wounds, including a shattered left arm and injuries to his side and back, which would affect him for the remainder of his life. Despite his injuries, Virgil managed to walk back to the Oriental, where his brother Wyatt was engaged in a poker game. The perpetrators of the ambush included Ike Clanton, John Ringo, Frank Stillwell, Hank Swilling, Pete Spencer, and Johnny Barnes. Some were apprehended and brought to trial, but cowboy witnesses claimed they were in Charleston at the time of the attack. Consequently, the defendants were released due to a lack of conclusive evidence. On January 17, 1882, John Ringo confronted Holliday. Contrary to popular belief, Ringo's challenge was directed solely at Holliday, not the entire Earp family. Morgan and Virgil were still recovering from their wounds, and Wyatt, although present, did not pose a serious challenge to Ringo. Aware of Ringo's intoxicated state, Wyatt intervened, removing Holliday from the situation with the help of James Flynn, the acting town marshal. This marked the extent of the altercation. On March 18, 1882, tragedy struck again when Morgan Earp was playing pool with Bob Hatch at Campbell and Hatch's saloon and billiard parlor on Allen Street. A shot fired from the darkness of an alley struck Morgan in the back, ending his life. Upon learning of Morgan's murder, Doc Holliday vowed to avenge him, proclaiming his intent to kill all those responsible. In a fit of rage, Holliday combed through the town, forcibly entering buildings and searching for the suspects he believed were involved. Had he encountered them that night, the town might have witnessed further bloodshed. Meanwhile, Wyatt Earp was filled with bitterness and frustration. Having witnessed his brother Virgil being shot and left crippled, followed by the perpetrators escaping justice, Wyatt knew the law would offer no solace. The day after Morgan's murder, a coroner's jury identified Frank Stillwell, Pete Spence, Joe Doe Friesreel, Frederick Bode, John Ringo, Indian Charlie, and another unnamed Indian as Morgan's killers. Wyatt, consumed by a desire for vengeance, was determined that someone would pay for the crippling of Virgil and the death of Morgan. Stillwell's own boast that he had fired the fatal shot sealed his fate. Aware of the danger he faced, Stillwell was targeted by Wyatt and Holliday. Morgan's body was embalmed, dressed in a suit provided by Doc Holliday, and laid out for viewing at the Cosmopolitan Hotel. The funeral procession began with the tolling of the fire bell, marking a solemn departure for Morgan's final journey home to Colton, California. Morgan's wife, along with Virgil and his wife, accompanied the body. Wyatt, Warren Earp, Doc Holliday, Sherman McMasters, Turkey Creek, Jack Johnson, and Texas, Jack Vermillion, provided protection during the journey to Tucson. In Tucson on March 20th, the Earp party encountered Stillwell at the railroad station. Wyatt pursued Stillwell down the track, delivering fatal shots. Holliday fired 2 additional shots, ensuring Stillwell's demise. A coroner's jury in Tucson identified Wyatt and Warren Earp, Holliday, Texas Jack, and McMasters as the individuals responsible for Stillwell's death. The Tucson Weekly Citizen reported Stillwell's burial on March 28, 1882, noting the somber occasion without mourners. The pursuit of vengeance continued for Wyatt Earp following the killing of Stillwell, with Doc Holliday riding alongside him. Upon learning that Pete Spencer was at his wood camp in South Pass, Earp, Holliday, and their federal posse rode there on March 22, 1882. Although Spencer was not found, they encountered Florentino Cruz, who fled and was subsequently shot by the posse. 2 days later, the Earp party encountered Curly Bill Brocious and his men near Iron Springs. A firefight ensued, during which Wyatt Earp fatally shot Curly Bill with a double-barrel shotgun. Johnny Barnes, one of Virgil's previous assailants, was severely wounded and did not recover from the injuries sustained during this encounter. Wyatt, Warren Earp, and Doc Holliday remained in Arizona territory until April, actively searching for Ringo, Clanton, Spencer, or Swilling. Unbeknownst to them, the individuals they sought were hiding in Mexico near Fronteras, Sonora. By May 1882, the Earps were in Gunnison, Colorado, while Doc Holliday was in Denver. Efforts were made by Arizona Territory to extradite Holliday from Colorado, which was thwarted by Colorado Governor Frederick Pitkin's decision not to honor the request. In July 1882, a teamster named John Yost discovered a dead man in West Turkey Creek Canyon. The body, identified as John Ringo, was found sitting among oak trees with a gunshot wound to the head. Although some suggested suicide, most disagreed and speculated about the identity of the shooter, highlighting the ongoing turmoil and violence within the region during that period. Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday returned to Arizona and met up with friends, including Fred Dodge, Oregon Smith, Johnny Green, John Meager, and possibly Lou Cooley, near Henry Hooker's ranch. They then set out towards Galeyville, where they had spotted John Ringo camped on Turkey Creek. When Ringo fled up a canyon, Wyatt pursued and shot him, leaving his body positioned between oak trees. To create alibis, Bat Masterson, Warren Earp, and newspaper colleagues assisted in establishing false accounts to suggest Wyatt and Doc had never left Colorado during this period.